if I want to buy a Christmas tree, which I haven't done in ages, but if I want to buy a Christmas tree because it's Christmas time, I don't need some unhealed religious esoteric fanatic chirping at me, going on and on and on about, oh, the Christmas tree is a phallic symbol. It represents a ball, and it's all about the winter solstice and, the 3 days when the sun is below the visible horizon. I know all that. I don't need people preaching to me. I want a Christmas tree because it makes me feel good, and it makes the people around me feel good because they want a Christmas tree. And I'm not going to sit there and hector and badger the people. Okay, you know where this Christmas tree came from? Here, I'm going to rain on your parade. I'm going to ruin your holidays because I'm going to talk about this really dark stuff about Christmas trees, right? And I'm just giving you an example where I'm using a Christmas tree as an example. I haven't bought a Christmas tree in ages, and I don't really have, the inclination to do so, anytime soon. Maybe next year, if Kylie and I talk about it and we want to pose next to a Christmas tree and put presents under it and whatnot, we'll do it. But we're not going to do it in fear. Like, oh, should we be doing this? Are we paying homage to Baal? Are we paying homage to the dark gods of, the past and all this stuff? You get a lot of that, right? Some people arm themselves with just enough knowledge about these esoteric issues to be annoying, quite frankly, right? So the religious missionary, the religious esoteric messiah, the esoteric messenger, they are all of this wrapped up in one. And so what will happen is they'll pop up in the field. The YouTube search algorithms drive all kinds of viewers to their site. They jack up their views. This is a common tactic they do with a lot of people all across the board. You want to drive viewers to the bogus MyLabs and the bozo, the clown sideshow circus I talked about in the MyLab field. Well, the search engines will drive people to those sites, right, where people are just talking about all kinds of stuff. And getting back to the esoteric aspect to it, the esoteric aspect is the underpinning. It's what holds together the whole spiel, because, again, there's nothing you could really sink your teeth into. When I gave a lecture at Coffs Harbor, I was asked to talk about the secret space program, but what I did to give a healthy dose of realism to this subject is, and I talked about this in a previous commentary, members only, I think, I talked about how a secret society, a secret space program likely got off the ground, pun intended. And I took it back to the basics. In math, they always teach you simplify, simplify, simplify. So I talk about the secret society, the Court of the Dragon, the Serpent Brotherhood, underpinning all of this. I talk about the early crash retrievals, the back engineering, the extreme secrecy, the crash programs to develop this back engineered technology to eventually come up with their own offensive weapon systems, to come up with their own means of not only flight in the atmosphere, but interplanetary flight, interstellar flight, interdimensional flight. I go at it step by step in a very believable way, right? And I talked about how there would have been, and there have been known to be, aliens that survived some of these crashes, and how the aliens would have been debriefed, and what they would have wanted to know about the alien society, what their civilization was like. Is there a division of labor in these alien civilizations? Like, who does what? Is there a hierarchy? These are things that an intelligence analyst would want to know, and the intelligence analyst would be getting information or questions from these teams of scholars and think tanks. Okay, ask them this, ask them that. What they're doing is they're painting a picture, a mosaic, piece by piece, by debriefing these aliens that survived these crashes or craft that have been shot down. And then eventually, over time, these alliances were formed. because they realized there were these civilizations already living underground, had been here all along. They'd known that through the study of the ancient lore and what the indigenous peoples have been saying all along. And so I bring the audience up to the point where, okay, here's Ben Rich talking about how the military is already traveling the stars. So I do it stage by stage. How could this have come into play? What kinds of mechanisms, what kinds of infrastructure would have been required to create a secret space program? It's better to do it that way, I feel, than to just to suddenly start talking about being a super soldier on Mars and doing this, that, and the other, and there's nothing to back up what I say. Everything is like woo-woo. Everything is esoteric. You just have to just take it on word, right? But the difference between the way I approach it is I take it from a fact-based perspective, a fact-based template, and then I debrief a lot of people I've developed rapport, trust, mutual trust with, who have actually walked the walk. Real MyLabs. People who've really been to Mars. People who've really been to the moon. People who've really been off-world. Not just on alien spacecraft, but actually on man-made spacecraft, right? And then what you do is you look for a patterned data correlation. Okay, Sally way over here in Dallas, Texas, she's describing things that Tiffany up here in upstate New York has described to me. They don't know each other, right? They don't, really have similar backgrounds, but they're talking about kind of the same things. So I make a point of that. I notate that. Okay, well, that's a pattern data correlation. Because sometimes, just like any good detective, any intelligence analyst, you have to start making educated guesses. You have to start using your intuitive gifts allied with the available information, anecdotal, it doesn't matter, and then start to create a picture. And that's my approach. And that's why I feel that in this field, a lot of people come to me as a source and for more understanding, because I have developed a certain level of gravitas and integrity in the field.